Hey there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the High Performance Method. I am your certified high performance coach, Sebastian Yepes. And first off, as always, thank you for choosing to be with me for the next 5 to 10 minutes. It is my commitment to be of value to you. Where I'm standing is that you leave this conversation with some sort of idea, a concept, a technique, some new practice in which you can walk into your life and enhance the quality of it, whether it's in relationships, whether it's in your productivity, whether it's with yourself, whatever that looks like. Topics range and it gets fun in here. Now, this conversation we started on Monday, and on Monday we started talking around the difference between responsibility and fault. And we started to discover what that meant and the way in which it affects us. Now, before we dive into anything, we need to talk about the power of language, because our world gets created in language. We are linguistic creatures. The way in which we communicate with other human beings is through language, whether it's verbally or whether it's through signs or whether it's just emotionally. We as humans are consistently communicating with others, and language gives us a context. It creates a frame around the conversation that you are having with yourself and with the people in your life. So, to talk about now the linguistics of fault and then responsibility. First things first, we need to look at the definition of both words. Fault, a mistake, a failure. And actually in fault, one of the definitions is the responsibility of failure. Interesting. However, there's a back end to it. Now, responsibility. In responsibility, we start to see the accountability or the ability to take control or manage. Now, if we start to put ourselves in that position of fault, a mistake, the responsibility of failure, and then to be accountable for, to manage, to control, we can start to see life in a different view. Now, let me ask you, think about a time in which you didn't succeed at something. Think about a time in which you, quote unquote, failed at something. Maybe it was something to do at home. Maybe it was something to do at the workplace. Maybe it was something to do with yourself. Now, I want you to think about this situation as I share with you a personal story that happened to me, because it shifted everything. Now, it's a very personal story, and I'm not going to go into details because they're not necessary. The big picture is what really matters here. About 2.5 years ago, I got some news from Lawrence that totally took the carpet underneath my floor and took me down a down spiral of complete uncertainty. Now, if I were to put myself in the position of fault, meaning you are guilty of that, meaning this is your fault, this is happening, then that would have been valid. Again, details aside, the what happened is the fault was on her. Now, at that moment in time, I was already going through my personal development journey. I had a personal coach and my life was completely transforming. And in that moment in time, the first thing that showed up is responsibility. Why? Because at that point in time, I was starting to look at my life from a different context. Instead of me blaming another human being, I was taking responsibility for the situations that were taking place in my life. And everything completely transformed. Now, back to you. That thing that you were thinking about. So let's take a look at where you're at there. What happened? You can start to think for yourself. We can start to look. Putting yourself in that situation right now, you can close your eyes and literally put yourself there. Isn't it awesome how the human brain can do that? Close your eyes, put yourself right there, and think of that situation from a place of fault. Now, I want you to start to feel. What is the experience of that? How do you feel? What is the sense that you're going through in your body, in your mind, in your heart? If you are being honest with yourself, putting yourself in that position from that place of fault, you are more than likely feeling disempowered. You're more than likely feeling emotions like blame, maybe even guilt, and possibly even shame. Now, snap out of it, get back here right now. Let's bring back that same situation, and now let's frame it from a place of responsibility. Put yourself in that same exact situation that we were just talking about, and put yourself back there from a place of responsibility. How do you feel? What is the sense of yourself? What are you experiencing within yourself? What's going on through your body? What's going on through your mind? What's going on through your heart? You are more than likely experiencing a completely different experience of yourself. You, from this place of responsibility, in that same exact situation, are more than likely feeling something of empowerment, almost like a sense of control. And this is the power of language, and this is the power of being able to step into any situation from a place of responsibility and from a place of fault. Now, back to my story. So here I was going through this transformational experience in my life. I just got the carpet yanked underneath my feet, and I needed to make a move. My move was I need to go back to my parents and figure it out, because I love Lauren. In fact, we're engaged, in case you didn't know, and she's gonna be my wife. It's a beautiful thing. I didn't want to leave that behind. So from that place of now standing right there in that situation, I started to look, okay, fault, blaming another human being, not taking responsibility or accountability for the actions taken. That aside, if I were to step into this situation right here, right now, how can I take accountability? How can I take some sort of control? How can I set myself in a place of management now from this place of responsibility? And the situation completely shifted. Instead of me being in the victim mode, instead of her being the villain, I was able to then step up into that situation into a place of power. Meaning we were able to have communications, meaning I was able to put the anger aside. It was still there. I was able to put it aside and step into that from a different place. And this is the power. When we put on different glasses, we start to see life in a different way. And this is why it's so important that when we start to communicate with other people, in this context of the conversation of responsibility and fault, you start to look at the situation from their responsibility. The accountability of control for yourself, not for the other person. You can't control the other person. You're gonna go crazy. Let me ask you, can you go to the bathroom for me? No, it's a silly question because you know you can't. But we act as if we pointing the fingers at other people are gonna change the circumstances around us. It does not. The only thing that we can ever have any sort of control, because that's another heavy topic, but the only person that can have any sort of accountability within the actions is ourselves. We need to be the ones that are taking full accountability for the things in our life that we do and don't do. And when something does not go as planned, if something fails, if something doesn't work, step into that position from a place of responsibility. Accountability for yourself. What did you fail to do? What did you do that led to the failure? How can you now step into that same exact situation with the same exact consequences, and how can you now move that thing forward? Because again, put yourself back. Fault, you're stepping in quicksand. The more you try to move, the easier it is to point the finger at other people. The easier it is to blame other people. The easier it is for you to fall into victimhood. And look, folks, we only live once. There's only a chance for all of us to be here. We've beaten all odds to even be human beings on this planet Earth at this point in time. So putting the finger out here and blaming other people for the things that are happening in your life is not empowering you and what you are here to do. Take a step back. I understand things happen. People do things that affect us. Yes. Anger is normal. Yes, I get it. Don't get caught up in the emotion. Don't let the emotion drive who you are in that situation, because the emotion can take over you and then you'll start to act irrational, saying, doing things that in the future you'll regret you've done. Step into a place of responsibility. Accountability for yourself, accountability for the actions in your life, accountability for the way in which you can now move into your life. So here's the task for you in the next week, and if you choose to do so, if you don't choose to do so, it's all good. But here's what I invite you to do. I invite you to go back into your life and take a look at the biggest areas in your life that have had the biggest effect in your life, not in the most positive and workable way. And I want you to look at that situation from both places, fault and responsibility. From a place of fault, who were you blaming? What were you putting the fault on? Who were you pointing the finger at? And what were you responsible for? Because it ties into it. Looking at that same situation from a place of responsibility, Now, what were you accountable in that situation? What did you fail to do in that situation? What did you do in that situation? How can you now step into a place of power there? If you do, I would recommend, and I invite you to do 3 things. Find 3 different occurrences and just look at those situations. See where the responsibility was given away to something else, and then you were faulting, and then you were no longer in a place of power. Now, if you do so, you can find yourself in a bigger place of being, in a different place of being. From there, you can now create a space for yourself, and you can start to see patterns, and you can start to take yourself in a different direction moving forward, because we are very cyclical beings. What happened 10 years ago is happening today in a different way. We need to respond in a different way. Our ability to respond, our responsibility, our accountability is what's going to make the difference within you and the people around you and the circumstances of your life. Thank you for being with me today. Take this message, if you got value from it, share it with another human being. We're all here to grow. What's the point? Share it with other people. If you got value, somebody else may just also get value. So share it with them. It's been a pleasure. Looking forward to seeing you all. If you're not a part of the Facebook group, scroll down below, join the group, and I will see you consistently. Thank you. Talk to you soon. Hey there, just a heads up and a reminder. So the dates for the screening of Stressed, the award-winning documentary shot by the Indigo Rising, Luke Segredo and V, is being screened at Ohana Rising on March 27th. Now, join us. This is going to be an awesome time for you to understand NET, neuro-emotional technique, an avenue to releasing stress, to deal with stress, to learn about stress in ways in which are holistic, non-invasive, and you can use moving forward in your life. We're gonna have some guests joining the night as well. People that are that have been in the industry, in this space for a long time, industry leaders in what they do in this area. You do not want to miss it. Go down below, find the link for the documentary. You can even see the trailer as well, and you can get your tickets following that link. Looking forward to seeing you there, and I'll talk to you soon.